in the last decades, China has asserted the more and more influence in every single institution of the United Nations. And they have actually corrupted, for example, the food and agricultural section, the UNICEF that we have, the headquarters in Rome, for example. China corrupted to get elected as the driving force of this particular branch. So, I mean, here we are talking about one of the most influential branches in the United Nations, because it deals with the humanitarian and development of many countries that are poor, with an international children's emergency fund and all that. And you will see, and then of course, the UNICEF works in more than 190 countries. They always said they reach the most disadvantaged people. But why was China so obsessed in taking control of this specific institution? Because China is always ahead, if you think about it. They've been ahead in positioning themselves on top of the World Health Organization a long time ago, and they maintained their position. Even before Tedros, they were in control of it. And then now they have, in the last few years, taken control of UNICEF, and that is because we are going towards a catastrophe of immense proportions regarding the famine in the world that is triggered by the present military operation. But as you can see, behind the scenes, China has always been there. It's kind of like omnipresent. And at the same time also Russia that up until 2020, when there was the last in-person meeting at Davos, was the big special guest all the time at the Russia House in Davos. There were a lot of parties and stuff. There was basically people like Medvedev or Putin will be received always with open arms as great heroes. There was never any criticism. This year, that Russia House in the middle of Davos became the home of a museum sort of scenario where they were showing the images of the war in Ukraine. At the same time, we saw also Chinese representatives leaving the room when Zelensky was talking, indicating their own choice. I mean, their own choice is with Russia, so that's it.
So the majority of the power in this world comes from money. And the majority of the money is controlled through what's called the world central banks. The world central banks are actually controlled by the Rothschilds family, which are actually Jesuits. The Rothschilds and the Catholic Church and the Vatican created what's called the Federal Reserve Bank, which dictates all of our currency in this country. So the Federal Reserve Bank, it was created by the Rothschilds, who are also tied to the Vatican and the Catholic Church. They obviously, in my opinion, they are all working together, controlling the George Soroses, the Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, all of them, Francis Collins. They're all in collusion running this whole thing. In 4.5 minutes, I want to tell you, not only is the criminality behind COVID-19 and all the lies that have been told to you been a big deal, someone decided after Stu Peters did an interview of a guy who's in Vietnam and hiding, and he's an investigative journalist, uncovering in China that the CCP has imprisoned these individuals who are innocent. They just create a movement of health and natural wellness, and through Tai Chi exercises and eating well. The CCP saw that as a threat to their country and to pharmaceutical industry, so they actually had them all imprisoned, and now they use them for organ harvesting while they're alive, and they sell those organs to America for organ transplant procedures. Okay, and I'm told I should interview this guy, and I decided, okay, I'm gonna interview him. I know we only have a few minutes, but this is what I interviewed him for an hour. You can check it out at thedrartistshow.com. Just did it a month and a half ago or so. He doesn't know anything about my views about who's running this whole thing. He has no idea, and that's not what this is about. But he gets into the fact that not only does the CCP harvest organs of innocent, healthy people and sell them, cuts them open while they're alive in these prisons, sells their organs to Americans. The CCP mafia is going to the southern bordered countries, and they're buying 30 to 60,000 children a year from those countries And those countries provide the children already saran wrapped to a board, loaded up in tractor trailers, stacked up on top of each other, and they're driving these newborns, adolescents, and children into China to be sex trafficked. And he personally has been in the trucks, raided those trucks, and cut the saran wrap off these children to rescue them out of these trailers. Okay? He's been doing this for 21 years. In the end of this interview, he says, Dr. Artis, you have no idea the power and reach of the CCP. And I said, oh, really? How powerful is the Chinese Communist Party? This is what he says, unsolicited. He goes, Dr. Artis, not only do they control the majority of manufacturing and the money and the debt that's on the United States of America, they actually own the Vatican. And I said, oh, really? This is not a joke. I went just like this, oh, really? What makes you think they own the Vatican? And he goes, they pay them, the Vatican, directly, hundreds of millions of dollars every year off of the organ harvested people and the sex trafficking of children in China.